Hey you all, welcome. Are you ready for one of the most easiest bread recipes ever? Or at least I think it is one of the easiest recipes I've found so far that actually turns out good. Now there are a few steps, there's a process, but it's very simple, very easy. And you do not need a mixer for this. And I do use a Dutch oven to bake it in, but you don't have to have a Dutch oven. I'll show you what you can do if you don't have one then. But let's get started. I have to make what you call a Poolish. I think that's how you call it. First, and then I let that sit overnight. It should sit for at least 6 hours to 24 hours, to up to 24 hours. And I like to let it sit as long as possible. There's just more starter there, or it just helps it rise better. It just makes better bread. So let's just get started and I'll show you the process. So the Poolish is made out of flour, water, and just a pinch of yeast over here. And I use just an all-purpose white flour to start the Poolish, and then I will use spelt flour for the rest of my dough. So I don't know why I do that. I just started it that way, so that's the way I'll do it. And if you use all white flour, the bread will really turn out fluffy. Spelt flour, if you use spelt flour, it won't quite turn out as fluffy, but that's okay. So I have a whole cup, 1 cup of white flour, and then a 2/3, actually I'm gonna first put a pinch of yeast in. It just says a pinch. So just a pinch, you just kind of like sprinkle it in there. Pinch of yeast, mix it around a little bit, and then you add you want room temperature water or lukewarm water, a 2/3 cup, and you just dump it in there, and you mix this Poolish all together. Like that, just nice, like a little wet ball that's all wet. And all it is just yeast, flour, and water. And then you'll cover it with plastic wrap, and you'll set it in the back of your counter and just let it sit there for at least up to 6 hours, and if you want, you can let it sit to up to 24 hours. I will let it at least, I like to let it at least sit till about 16 to 20 hours at least. So that was super simple, wasn't it? All I did was flour, yeast, and water, and mixed it together and set it aside, and it's going to, over the hours, it'll start bubbling up a little bit. And then tomorrow we're going to add some more flour and some more water. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay guys, we are back. This is the next day. It's like a little over 19 hours later, and I'm going to get started because I want this to be done for dinner time. We're going to have some burgers, and I don't have any bread on hand, so I want to get this bread made. And I wanted to show you this Poolish here that was sitting all, let's see, there you go. It's all bubbly. See how it all bubbled just with a little pinch of yeast and flour and water. That's all it was. So it's very activated. And now all you need is 1 1/4 cups of water. It says 98 degrees Fahrenheit, which is basically just really nice warm water. I'm not too particular about that, but you can always put a thermometer in it and make sure it's the right temperature. And so you dump it in here, in the bowl right here. And let me get the camera closer for you. So I have the warm water in here, and next I will add a 1/2 teaspoon of yeast. And now I'm going to make this very heaping for me because I am using spelt flour for the rest of my flour. It says just to use all-purpose flour and like 1/3 cup whole, wheat flour, but because I'm using all spelt flour, I'm going to add just a little bit more yeast. And then what you do is add this Poolish in with this water and yeast. Look how nice and stringy that is. Yeah. And then the easy way to mix this literally is using your finger and just like twisting it around with your finger. You want to do that right away. Just get it all mixed up in that warm water. There we go. Still wants to be a little bit clumpy, but that's okay. It'll mix really well once you mix in the flour.
Mom.
Okay, vas, Chloe?
Lass mich die Säure mixer.
Oh, just because. Okay, next we will add all the flour that it says. I will have the recipe down below for you. And then you just mix that. Oh, I forgot. You need to add some salt here. It's 1.5 teaspoons salt. So 1 teaspoon and 1/2. There we go. We don't want to forget the salt.
Wow, that's super.
Yep, such salts. And then you just mix it like this until it's all mixed. Make sure the Poolish is mixed in there really well. Okay, next, what I'm going to do is take the spoon out, and then you want to wet your hands with water. Wet your hands really good with water, then you want to go in there with your hands and just kind of munch it up. Go around in a circle and just kind of squash it. You want to make sure that gluten in there is all mixed together, and just really mix it up in there with your fingers. Just every once in a while you might have to wet your fingers again so they don't stick too much. Just like so. Just go around and just squash it together with your fingers. And you can actually feel it come together, the dough. Okay, once you feel that it's mixed really well, you will just let it sit. You will cover it with plastic wrap and let it sit for 1/2 hour. Okay, 30 minutes are up, and now you just repeat the process. You make your hands wet. Gotta get them wet over here. And first I'm going to use this thing. Kind of, see how it's just kind of flat and a little bit wet, and I'm just going to scrape it out a little bit like this, and then I use my hands. What I want to do is kind of pull it up like this and flip it over, and just go around doing that, pulling it up, flipping it over, and that kind of that's just kind of layering the gluten process, just layering it, mixing it really well, and it's strengthening the bread dough. So as you work with it, the bread gets stronger. The dough, there's just there's more strength to it. Like it now, it just wants to come off here. But you stretch it and flip it over. Just do that a few times, however, just for a few seconds, about a minute maybe. Just so. So now it just becomes like more of a round ball. So just like that. Now I'll cover it again and set it aside for 1 more half hour, and then I'm going to repeat this one more time and sit it back for 1 hour, and then I will be done with it basically. So that's what I'm going to do. And while I'm waiting, I just do my dishes, I sweep, I do laundry. Just so there's a few steps to this, but there's not much to do with it. You just do a little bit and then you go and do your stuff that you need to do. Okay, we are ready for the next step, and that will be dumping this dough out on this floured surface and just kind of forming it nicely into a bowl. I have my little girl here sweeping. She's doing a pretty good job. She's only 5. Yep, she's a good little helper. So we're going to dump this dough out on a floured surface. And now what you want to do is kind of put it together like this, flip it around, get some flour on it so you can finger it without getting sticky fingers. And then what I do is I kind of twist it over each other, just kind of twisting it over, flipping and twisting it, and kind of forming into a ball. And sometimes you can even pinch them together here in the center. Just forming it nicely into a ball. Just keep doing that. Make it nice and tight. Just like so, kind of pinch the center together so it stays together and it's a nice ball. I add some flour to the top so it's not sticky, but this will actually be the bottom. And then I have a bowl here that I am going to add a piece of parchment paper. And now it's kind of hard sometimes to put parchment paper in here like this and make it stay. So what I do often is crinkle up my parchment paper like this, like I'm ready to put it in the trash, but I'm not. And then I open it up again, and it just somehow fits in there better. Kind of stays better in there, just like that. And now I sprinkle in a little bit of cornmeal in the bottom. Now you can skip this step, but I like to do it. It just, when the bread is done, there's this cornmeal stuck to the bottom of it, and it's just crispy. So now you just pick up this bread and I flip it over so that the top, or that the bottom is on the top. And I flip it nicely in here in this parchment paper bowl. And then I will let this rise for at least 1 hour. The recipe says for like 45 minutes, but because I have mostly spelt flour in this thing, I'm going to let it rise probably a little bit over an hour, because spelt just rises a little bit slower. It needs a little bit more yeast. So that's what I'm going to do, but the recipe actually says for 45 minutes or so. And then when this is about halfway done rising, I'm going to put my oven on to almost 500 degrees. I think 485 to 500 degrees. And then I'm going to put my Dutch oven in there and let it heat up till it's completely hot. And then when this is done rising, I'm going to take my Dutch oven out and put this bread in a hot Dutch oven and then put it in the oven. And then I'm going to turn it down to 480 or 485. You have to see what the recipe says. Okay, I have let my dough sit for 1 hour and it's risen some. It's pretty, looks pretty good. Right there, there it is. And this Dutch oven is hot, hot, hot. So what I'll do is just lift up these, this parchment paper very carefully, and I'll just plop it carefully here in the Dutch oven. And then I'll put it back into the oven, and I'll put the temperature down to 480. It was at 500, and now I'm gonna put it down to 485 to be exact. 485. And now I'll flip this in, carefully put this in the Dutch oven. Now I've got it in there. Oh, I forgot. I wanna, I use the scissors here, and careful, Chloe.
Okay.
This thing is hot over here. Use the scissors here, and I'm going to just cut in a couple, I don't even know what you call it. Just
Some slices.
Huh?
Some slices.
Yeah, cut in some slices. Chloe told me what to say. Just like that. And then I cover it, like so, nicely. And then I put it back in the oven for 18 minutes. I time it for 18 minutes. And then after that, I'll take the cover off and bake it for an additional 20 to 30 minutes. Now, I wanted to tell you too, if you do not have a Dutch oven, I also have already used just a cast iron skillet, and I would put a stainless steel bowl right over it to cover it, and that's how I baked bread before. And if you don't have this either, just use a cookie sheet. Just put it out on a cookie sheet. The bread might flatten a little bit more, but it'll still be good. So I just wanted to give you a couple other options if you don't have a Dutch oven. I had it in for 18 minutes, and now let's see how it's looking. It's looking pretty good. Let's see if I can show you there. It's looking great, but it needs to get darker. This bread you want crusty and dark. So I'm gonna put it back in uncovered for about 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to see how long it takes. So I'm going to time it again for another like 20 minutes for now. And it's on. I believe it's done. Whoa. It's nice and dark. It's perfect. Now altogether, I think I went maybe about 32 minutes, because I didn't quite go 20 minutes. I went like 18 minutes the first time and 18 minutes this last time. So I think that would be 36 minutes altogether. So you just have to go by how dark you want your bread. Okay, now I'm going to lift it out of here. I'm not touching the Dutch oven, just please. Here we go. Wow. You gotta see this. Isn't that amazing? I just love to create breads, and I love to bake. So it's just so rewarding when it turns out nice. I'm going to take it off of here. Hot. Can you hear that? It's like it's actually supposed to sing, like crackle a little bit. And it is. I wish you could hear that. It crackles. And then the inside of the bread is soft and chewy, and the outside is like crusty. So good. I'm gonna let it cool off a little bit, and then we'll have it for dinner. And I'll cut it for you guys. My daughter came home from school, so she's putting all my laundry away, and then she's got some violin to practice. Okay, here we are, all ready to eat some dinner. And Wyatt is not here. He's gone on having some fun. And here I have Joas to cut.
I'm ready to do the slicing and dicing.
Yes, he's going to cut the bread for you guys.
Here we go. Actually, it's for us, but you can watch. Ooh, this feels really good. Feels amazing, actually. Good crust with a soft center. Feels like it's gonna be delish. It's got a pretty good crust on the bottom, all the way around. Okay, so there.
Yeah, pick it up so we can see.
Looks really nice and airy all the way through.
Yep, some little holes. Now, if you would just use regular all-purpose flour, there would be some bigger holes, I think. But I use spelt, but it looks great.
Now I'm just gonna chop it the other way. Can't wait to dig into it.
There is something on this taste.
Should I taste it? See if it's worthy of our
Yes.
palate.
This bread is really good just pulled apart and yeah, dunked in that. It's oil and balsamic vinaigrette.
Mmm. It's worth eating. It's really good. Mmm. It's like a 5-star restaurant right here.
Okay. Thank you so much again for watching. And I hope you found this video entertaining, and I hope you learned something. And I hope you try this bread. We love it.
Yep, you have to enjoy it. You gotta try it because it's delicious. Everything she makes is amazing. I don't know how she does it, but she makes it happen.
Okay, God bless.